What's going on, everybody? This is JohnJake Baseball on the mic here, coming at you with gonna be wrapping up some divisional series play here, and we got some surprising developments around the USBL, including what we're witnessing right in front of us right now. We are currently seeing the San Francisco Seals, who did win the wild card game against the New Orleans Kings. They are taking on the #1 seed in the National League in the Philadelphia Patriots. But that being said, they do have an early 2-0 lead here, so it's going to be a very interesting to see if Philadelphia can at least go ahead and see if they can go ahead and at least extend this series out a little bit more. It would be truly embarrassing to see if Philadelphia does end up getting swept by the wild card team that had to really claw and scrap their way into the playoffs in the first place. But that being said, though, we are, gonna go ahead. We're gonna have some great playoff action here for you guys. It's gonna be a good one, so make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe as well if you do happen to be brand new, as well as we will go ahead and check in to the bottom of the first inning just to see what's going down right now. Philadelphia, they did get a run on the board here early. DJ LeMahieu had that ground rule double, was able to be brought home by Bryce Harper. But that being said, though, San Francisco, they're going to get on the board as well with their first batter. Victor Reyes gets a solo shot out into right field. And the San Francisco Bats, they have certainly been on absolute fire right now. They have really done a fantastic job of carrying, really carrying this pitching staff. The pitching staff is not necessarily the best for San Francisco, but if the Bats remain hot as they are right now, they can certainly be a big threat to win it all in the USBL, as Josh Donaldson does end up lining out into right field. Bryce Harper is able to go ahead and make the catch. But that being said, though, we will see Ozzy Albies able to get home as well. He had a single earlier in the inning, and we got a pretty exciting first inning. Already 3 runs on the board between these two teams as Salvador Perez comes up to the plate. 2-2 count. How about 5 runs in the first inning, as Perez is able to get a hold of that one? Is going to send it 412 feet. So a 2-run shot for him as well. So it's able to give him a 4-1 lead. The inning will eventually end, but oh my goodness. How about an error by TJ LeMahieu? He had the only run scored by Philadelphia, but keeps the inning going just a little bit longer. Seth Beer will eventually strike out, but San Francisco actually almost bats around in that first inning. They were able to get 4 hits out there. And Philadelphia playing a little sloppy here. They'll have to play a lot better. Just being here at home, trying to keep the series alive, at least to a point where they can at least bring it back to Philadelphia. But anyways, Justin Upton, he's going to go ahead. He gets a single out into right center field, able to get the double off that, as Matt Carpenter, he comes up to the plate. He's going to go ahead, make sure Justin Upton is going to get home. Solo shot for Matt Carpenter. And the Philadelphia Patriots are right back into this game. It looks like early it seemed like San Francisco was going to pull away. It was just going to be one of those drubbings that we see. But that being said, though, we still have a chance to see a really competitive game. That's really all that you can ask for. But that being said, though, the Bats of San Francisco just keep hitting, as Salvador Perez, he's gonna hit a small grounder basically out to the catcher. I'm actually really surprised Jamison Taillon didn't bother to go get off the mound and field that himself, because it did end up a little bit closer to him. Granted, is now Grandal Grushek. He's gonna come into the game as well, batting in that 7th spot. He's been doing a very good job as a designated hitter, as Grushek, he's going to line this one out into center field as well. And it's going to be yet another run for San Francisco. And the hitting just keeps going for the Seals, looking to go ahead and seal the deal here. Actually, the manager for Philadelphia is going to come out and talk to Jamison Taillon. He has been lit up like a Christmas tree let's see if he can do a little bit of a better job recovering here. As Seth Beer comes to the plate now, able to get this one out into left field as well. That's yet another base hit actually a 2-base hit for San Francisco. As Seth Beer just continues to tear apart Jameson Taillon. You see the stats, it's not looking good whatsoever. 7 runs in less than 3 innings of play as Philadelphia has to go to the bullpen early. George Juarez has to come into the game. He actually does not have any regular season appearances, but he was brought up to bolster this Philadelphia roster late. And right now, the youth showing a little bit. Another error by DJ LeMahieu. That's going to bring in another run. That would have actually went ahead and ended this 3rd inning. As George Juarez, he's going to go ahead, at least almost strikes out Ozzy Albies. What about calling that strike free? Didn't exactly happen for him, though, as we got a pass ball. Runners are going to be moving into 2nd and 3rd base here. So we're going to call that a wild pitch to move everybody around. Is now full count here. Going to go ahead, try to deliver, attacking Ozzy Albies. And George Juarez, the 29-year-old rookie, ends up getting the strikeout. They actually didn't call that an error. That 2nd error that DJ LeMahieu, I thought that was going to count as, because he did bobble the ball just a little bit here, but still only 1 error for Philadelphia thus far. This will help them get back into the game, though. Jesus Aguilar with the 2nd home run of the postseason. Little 2-run shot that helps them get right back into this game a little bit. Still down by 3 runs, though. As we're getting close to the end of this game, we'll see if San Francisco can go ahead and get some insurance just to make sure that Philadelphia cannot come back, because, hey, they're down by 3 runs right now, and they're down 2-0, but this is a team that almost won 100 games. They're certainly capable of coming back, from this kind of deficit that we are looking at right now. As Joe Barrow is actually going to come into the game here. He has 1 postseason appearance, but he has been lit up so far, and that looks like it's going to continue here as well, as it's hit the right field, but Bryce Harper comes down and makes a great catch. It still does allow a run to score, but you would have to think that is certainly going to go ahead and clear up the bases if it wasn't for the fact that Bryce Harper made that nice diving play. Philadelphia is still going to be down by 4 runs here, and it's going to be all up to Brad Hand to bring San Francisco home. Can this underdog from the wild card pull the upset on the 1 seed in the National League? That would be something special, especially sweeping them as well. As Brad Hand going back to back like a Drake song, going ahead, getting that strikeout, this time swinging. As it's all up to Will Castro now, 0 for 4 at the plate so far today. As Brad Hand is going to get the grounder to first base, and will tap on first, and that is going to end this game. And San Francisco ends up doing the unthinkable. They end up winning this game by a final score of 9-5. And San Francisco is going to be the first team to punch their ticket to the next round. They will be moving on to the NLCS, who ate the winner from Indianapolis and LA. Nice win for them. But we do have a couple of other series throughout the USBL, which we already know won't be guaranteed to be one of those sweeps, like the San Francisco versus Philadelphia series. And one of those is LA versus Indianapolis. And right now, Indianapolis, they're giving LA everything they can handle. Indianapolis, one of those teams that, basically only made the playoffs because they were in a weak division, but they are at least holding their own right now. But it looks like the better team might end up pulling away in this series, as LA does end up taking game number 3. They do beat the Indianapolis Indians 6-2. And the thing is, they are also, Indianapolis still has one more game that they get to host. There is that, but the Indians do need to win their next 2 games if they want to go to the next round of the USBL playoffs. Another game that has also been really tough and really competitive as well is this series that we have 2 teams from the same division in the Chicago Freeze taking on the Minnesota Ducks. The Minnesota Ducks had to go through the wild card simply because the Chicago Freeze did end up having the best record in the USBL. They were the only team with over 100 wins. And, you know, Minnesota, we knew it was going to be a tough task because of how much talent Chicago had on this team. And right now, Chicago is taking care of business as well. They're up 6-1 now already. Make that 6-2. And look at that. 5 runs in the top of the 9th inning. Minnesota does their best to try to make it a little bit more competitive, but Chicago wins this game convincingly by a score of 11-5. Minnesota still gets to host one more game, but they're in the same situation. Well, they must win the next 2 in order to go on to the next round of USBL playoffs. Let's go ahead and look at another team that could potentially get themselves a surprising sweep as well. The Houston Astronauts, they've been playing a divisional series against the Cleveland Rockers, who was also a team that almost ended up finishing with 100+ wins. They were relatively close, but Houston did end up winning the first 2 games of this series. And now Cleveland is against the wall. They got Mike Malakis out on the mound to try to go ahead and extend this series. But then let's go to the first at bat. Miguel Rojas, who has been on fire this postseason, 556 batting average. Just absolutely unheard of, and it's still going to be going up as he sends this deep into left field, and it is gone. Miguel Rojas with a solo shot to start this game off. So we got a 1-0 lead here, and not to mention Kirsten Hira, he's gonna keep things going here as well. A nice little hit out into center field. It doesn't get by the outfielders, but it's still considered a double as Josh Bell comes in now, bottom of the first inning, you know, with runners at first and second base, as Josh Bell sends this one out into center field as well. That's going to be at least a base hit, and all of the runners are going to be safe. Houston tacks on a second run here as Brandon Bell looks to keep it going now. Bottom of the first still, this is still all in the first inning, you guys, as Brandon Bell, he rips one out in the right field. Actually got lucky with the wall bounce. That could have easily been 2-base hit, 3-base hit, you know what I'm saying? It's still another run as Luis Robert comes up. He ends up striking out, though. No more runners will end up scoring in this inning, but Houston simply off to a fantastic start right now, as Cleveland has just also had a really tough time getting their offense going at the same time. So Miles Malakis needs to be better here in the second inning. This does not look good, though. A shot to left center field. A diving play. That's no good. And now it's becoming a foot race. A race against time. Is this going to be a inside the park home run? Is that what we're going to see right now? Yes, we will, baby. Inside the Parker. Houston now taking a 4-0 lead, and it just keeps going. Another hit, this time Kirsten Hira getting on base. And now the manager has to come out, talk to his pitcher, try to calm him down just a little bit here, because he has been absolutely shell-shocked right now. As Kirsten Hira comes to the plate once more, bottom of the second inning. This is hit deep in the center field. This will be considered a sacrifice fly, but at the same time, though, will bring in, you guessed it, yet another run for Houston. Houston, we are not having any problems over here, because now we got a 5-0 lead here as Josh Bell comes to the plate. 1 for 1, has a single and an RBI on the day so far. We'll see if he can help tack on to this lead here a little bit. We got a steal for second base, and that's going to end the second inning. Kirsten Hira trying to steal second. maybe this is the momentum that Cleveland needs. Just a stop on defense like that. Although that was a close call. That he might have actually been safe there. But alas, the Cleveland Rockers still have not been able to get much of anything going on offense. They have been absolutely shut out in this game. And now just putting the pressure on the bullpen now, because that Cleveland at this point, they did bring in another pitcher, Christian Javier, now in the game, but it's not still the same result. Another score for the Houston Astronauts is going to end in another home run. And the lead continues to grow. Make that 6-0. It's just, you want to talk about a team that has fallen apart here. It's this Cleveland Rocker squad, to be honest with you guys. They've won 98 games. This is an extremely talented baseball team. Arguably, one of the favorites alongside Philadelphia, who we just saw get eliminated, and the Chicago Freeze, who we will, see their closing game here potentially later on in this episode. But it just goes to show just how close things are in the USBL. There's certainly a lot of parity, and it just comes down to, who wants it more, who can execute the best. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing here in these playoffs early on here, as Houston, who's a solid team themselves. They won 91 games as well. Hits another big shot out into left center field. This could end up being yet another inside the park home run. This might be a little bit closer though, but yes, we are going to see 2 inside the park home runs in a single game. And Cleveland brings out Chris Rusan to try to calm things down a little bit, but that ERA certainly would concern. A 27 ERA, but he gets the job done there. Gets Chirrios, the strikeout swinging. And yeah, it's just a crowning moment. We're just waiting for these innings to dry up before we officially say it, but I mean, there's absolutely no way that Houston is not going to win this game. Look at that. If there was a run rule, the run rule would certainly be in effect right now. We would be going home, but in the USBL, we don't believe in run rules here, man. We play to the very end, and Josh Bell is certainly going to try to do just that. Another hit into center field. He's going to actually try to bring a runner to third base. This is going to be a tough slide, but it's going to end up being in safe. So now runners are going to be at the corners for Brandon Belt, who belts that one out into the outfield as well. And it's not like a lot of time. Well, there's been a lot of big hits. Don't get me wrong. There's certainly been a ton of big hits in this ball game. But for the most part, Houston is just hitting where Cleveland isn't. Just smart, timely hitting for the most part. And because of that, Houston's going to pull away and end up winning this game unless there's a minor, actually needs a little bit more than a minor miracle at this point. But John Gant's going to come into the game. You got an 11-run lead here. Try to calm things down a little bit. Try to finish this game off real quick. Chris Owings up to the plate. 0 for 3. Cannot come through in the clutch. And the Houston Astronauts, also a team that pulls an upset. They beat the second best ranked team in the American League, sweeping them. And Houston doing so with absolute authority, winning by a very convincing score of 14-3. Miguel Rojas is going to be named player of the game, and they will move on to the ALCS. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and switch things back over to the National League side of the playoff bracket, where we're going to see something hopefully a little bit more competitive here. The LA Saints, who are the winners of the NL West, they will be going on the road here, taking on these Indianapolis Indians squad. They did win the NL Central. Granted, it was considered the weakest division in baseball, as the Indianapolis Indians, I believe, were the only team in the division to finish with an actual record above 500. So, we'll see. But granted, Indianapolis has been playing pretty competitively so far in this series. But we'll see if they can extend it to a Game 5. And granted, if we do end up seeing like a winner-go-home type situation, in any of these series, they will be a standalone episode. And we'll have some YouTube premieres for that, so we can kick back and relax, watch the game together, chill out. But I'm sure LA has some other plans for that, as they got Spencer Turnbull on the mound, who's been doing pretty good this season, 3.77 ERA, so that's something to watch out for as well. But LA pretty early here, off to a great start, as they are jumping out here to a 4-0 lead on this Indianapolis Indians squad. And the thing is, they can go ahead and extend it further now, as they got another runner in scoring position. Patrick Dyer's going to poke one in between second and third base, and Kyle Lewis is going to be able to get home. The throw was somewhat there, but it was just offline, and yeah, it's going to lead to yet another run for this LA Saints baseball team. As we go ahead, see what Alejandro Kirk can do against Jordan Yamamoto. But we are going to go ahead, see a strikeout swinging. And yeah, LA doing pretty good stuff. Indianapolis doesn't even have a hit yet, but maybe we'll see something shake here as Max Kepler comes to the plate here. He did walk back in the second inning, but seen a bunch of walks here for Spencer Turnbull as he's trying to finish this 6th inning here. As we got the very first pitch in the bottom of the 6th inning, Max Kepler, he's trying to go deep though, but it looks like Kyle Lewis, he had a beat on the ball, but just was way too casual there, and that's going to cost them 3 runs just from being way too casual there in that moment. Victor Gonzalez will come in, but that's not to the fault of, I would say, Spencer Turnbull. He should have been able to get out of that inning, scotch-free, but that's simply what did not happen. And now LA's got something going here. Max Kepler is going to be able to get home, and the tying run is going to be at second base. But LA gets out of the inning, though. They will have to bring in another bullpen arm. Jacob Barnes comes in. Hasn't had any appearances in this series, but he does have 39 appearances back in the regular season, though. As now, Brian O'Keefe looks to go ahead and tie this ball game once and for all, and it's going to leave the ballpark. It's going to get into the stands. A 352-foot shot, the first home run for Brian O'Keefe here in the postseason. And now this game is going to be all tied up here. Maybe this will go to a Game 5. It would be a deciding game here at the divisional series level, because all division series matchups, here in this postseason, they are best of 5. We will not see a best of 7 series until we get into that championship series level, the ALCS, NLCS, and the USBL World Series as well. As LA is going to get some more speed out there. Miles Straw is going to enter the game for the very first time, and Miles Straw tries to beat it out. He's going to end up reaching second base. And we got people on the first and second now. We got a base hit for Vargas, and this was just a really nice play by the third baseman. If that gets out, that's extra bases. It's a nice job keeping the ball in front of him and staying with it. Almost managed to get the second out of this inning, and yet another pinch runner comes in. Leonardo Rivas, number 54. As a couple batters later now, we'll see bases loaded. Brandon Ninmo coming into the game now, facing a 2-0 count, and Ninmo, he's going to poke this one into right field. One run's going to score, and there will be a second one as well. The pinch running paying off for the LA Saints. And they will re-establish the lead here, 7-5. And Indianapolis has to call in another bullpen arm to try to keep the damage under control. One out here in the top of the 9th inning, as we're going to go ahead, see a little dribbler up the middle, and LA gets themselves yet another insurance run. It's been a big inning here in the top of the 9th inning. And now here we are, just 3 outs away here. And we could see the LA Saints punch their ticket into the NLCS. And if they do so, in this episode, we would end up seeing a divisional rivalry in the NLCS. The San Francisco Seals and the LA Saints, both from the NL West. And they're going to bring out Edwin Diaz. He had 55 appearances in the regular season. First postseason appearance, though, but standing up to the pressure pretty well, though, as Brian O'Keefe is going to be called upon to try to keep this series alive. He has the home run earlier, but he's going to strike out looking. and it's all over. The LA Saints are going to punch their ticket. Give credit to Indianapolis. They played a competitive series, and this was a pretty competitive game as well overall, but LA remains resilient, and they will go to the NLCS, winning by a final score of 8-5. So the last game that we're going to go ahead and take a look at here in this episode is we're going to go ahead and see the Chicago Freeze take on fellow divisional opponent Minnesota here in the ALDS. Minnesota got here via the wild card. They did end up defeating the Seattle Pilots in the wild card round. Meanwhile, Chicago, they got that bye, with the best record in the USBL as well. 103 wins. That is better than anyone else in this whole league. In Chicago, they do have a 2-1 lead. Minnesota put up a fight in game 2 and game number 3 as well. But if Minnesota wants to keep it going here, they have to win this game to extend it to a game 5. And hey, if that's the case, we'll get a premiere just for that game 5 to see who would be the final team that would punch their way into the next round of the USBL postseason. But Minnesota is really trying its best to make that happen as well, as we do see Fernando Tatis Jr. able to get the single out in the right field. So Minnesota will actually go ahead and strike first. And how about that by Tatis? Trying to be aggressive early on here. He's going to get the steal at second base. As we cut to the next batter, Renato Nunez has some runners on the corner, but he cannot advance them, though. It will be a strikeout look, and he was doing some window shopping. Same thing almost could have been said for Randall Polson, but he's able to get some wood on the baseball, though, and Fernando Tatis is able to get home, and it's going to be a second run for the Minnesota Ducks. So, got a 2-0 lead here. Chicago going to try to get a response on board as Alex Verdugo, he's going to send this deep out in the center field. This could be gone like a girl in a country song, but it just barely bounces off the wall. Verdugo is going to slide into third base, however, and that is going to be, another huge hit for Chicago. And Chris Tyler represents the tying run here. He's going to get the hit. Chris Taylor will be thrown out, but they chose to go to first instead of home. So Chicago will also end up scoring a run in, the early part of this game. But we now go into the latter part. We jump all the way into the top of the 6th inning. Rich Hill is going to finally come in and replace one of these starters. It's been a little bit of a battle here, but Rich Hill is going to give up a grand slam, though. A solo shot for Reese McGuire. And how about that? Fantastic timing. Getting some runs on the board with your first home run of the postseason. And Jose Abreu is looking to jump on that train as well. Almost sends that one out of there. He's going to try to extend this to a double, but Jose Abreu is going to be thrown. Oh, he's going to be called safe. Wow, I thought Jose Abreu was going to be thrown out for sure. It seemed like the throw was on time and all that good stuff. I don't know how he managed to dodge the tag, but that turns out to be a really big call there. As Jose Abreu on the next at bat, he's going to end up going home. And wow, you hate to see it if you're a Minnesota Ducks fan, as Garrett Crochet comes to the game, has less than an inning of experience in the postseason. But looking to get this second out, though, it's going to be tough. And look at that. Another home run given up here. This time, Chris Taylor, who had the RBI earlier, does end up getting the 2-run shot as well. And they do end up getting out of this inning. But Minnesota now has a really big hole that they got to go ahead and deal with here. A 6-run lead, as Will Harris will come into the game for the Chicago Freeze. Has only 27 regular season appearances, so not a lot of experience. Definitely one of the fresher arms that Chicago has, trying to, keep the bullpen fresh, because how, the playoff baseball is. Starters cannot go as long as what we're normally accustomed to, and that's going to be really important later on. But Will Harris is struggling a little bit here. He actually loads up the bases with 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Mitch Heinler gets a hold of one and rips it right up the middle. 1 run's going to score. Are we going to go ahead and see a second one? We do. The throw not in time. And Mitch Heinler gets a couple of runs on the board. But in order for Minnesota to be able to go ahead and make this comeback, they need a clean inning here. You really do not want to give up any more bangers. But say it with me, though. Joey still bangs. 4th home run in the postseason for Joey Gallo. He's been having a really big series, actually. 4th home run in this series. A 4-game series, keep in mind, y'all. So that is 1 home run a game. That is pretty amazing. As now Kyle Seager looks to add on to that as well here in the top of the 9th inning. This might actually lead the ballpark as well, trying to get up there, but Kyle Seager is going to go deep as well. And how about this? What a time to be alive. The Chicago Freeze up by 7 runs. And so really putting Minnesota up against the wall. Gary Waters is going to strike out swinging at, honestly, a really bad pitch. And now Thad Gonzalez has the hopes and dreams of the Minnesota franchise on the balance. But he cannot deliver, though. And the Chicago Freeze is going to win this series in a competitive 4-game stretch. And they will move on to take on the Houston Astronauts from the American League West. So congratulations to Chicago beating a tough Minnesota Ducks opponent, winning 11-4. Chris Taylor is your player of the game. So with that victory for the Chicago Freeze, they will move on to the ALCS, and that does lock up the championship field, and we are now down to the last 4 teams in the USBL playoffs. Over in the National League, the LA Saints, who did have the number 2 seed, they will be going to face off against the San Francisco Seals, who have been the underdog story. Only team from the wild card portion of the playoff. They made it all the way to the NLCS. And then in the American League, the Houston Astronauts, who swept the number 2 team in the AL in the Cleveland Rockers, will take on the favorites to win it all, the Chicago Freeze, the sole team to win 100+ games in the regular season. And it's going to be a good one, as we'll watch at least the first 3 games for both series. There won't be any box scores because we are down to the final 4 teams. So it's going to be a really great episode, and I hope you're really looking forward to it. And if you happen to be looking forward to it and you haven't done so already, make sure you smash that like button for me. Hit me up down in the comments as well, and hit that subscribe button if you do happen to be brand new as well. This is JohnJake Baseball on the mic, signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.